mm, 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 mm. Yes, sir.
Got some information to get into today. Going to get into this book here a little bit too. About the Hall of Earth. I just can't leave it up here because I need to read it. We're going to get into this a little bit. Good seeing you, Ancient Gardener. Thank you for showing up. Thank you to the moderators. You know how it works. The more information we bring out, the crazier everything gets. So let's just keep it flowing, right? Keep it going, right? Yes, ma'am, Queen Mommy, breaking down that matrix exactly. That's our job, right? Another another crazy day. Another crazy day. Great seeing you, 12. Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings to you as well. Another crazy day, right? You seeing, like I said, it's just accelerating every single day. And I said, that's why I think it's very important for us to continue to bring this understanding out, bring this information out, keep on connecting these pieces. And it really helps to prove that there is no going back to the way things were. I mean, you'll hear them kind of speaking out of both sides of their mouths when the other nations are talking, like, when we write the history of what's going on right now, we're gonna write the history of what's going on, and people aren't gonna look as good. It's like, you guys really think that? I mean, we see how you've written history. We can already see how you've been writing history before, when we weren't allowed to read, we weren't allowed to get into information, we were going through the curses. So considering the fact that and we can now, as we look back at how you've written history about how you got the country, what you've done when you were in your blessing, what you've done when you guys were controlling everything. you know we were indoctrinated so much, and then we were taught to never question anything. I said, as you can tell, those days are over with, and they don't deal very well with any kinds of questioning. I'm seeing all these things, like they're really pushing the whole situation with Kanye, and you see them, really, you know, uh, uh, attacking him, and taking things away, and canceling him, and all of these different people and these different companies are dropping him and whatever else. And the thing is that what's new. I said, these people are, I said, they're never good at dealing with the questions, dealing with the issues. You know, we've been saying that we're the Israelites for years, you know, and they don't ever try to disprove that. Most of the time, most people don't are just very, very quiet about that whole situation the whole time. If we talk about, like, I was thinking about that today. You know, if I wear fringes wherever I'm at. If I got a hat that has the name of Yahweh on it, got fringes on, whatever else, almost never. People might look, but they never ask, like, why do you wear this? What does it mean? Are you Jewish? Are you, an Israeli? They never even ask. So the fact that they never even ask kind of makes me feel like, hey, they already know the truth, and they're just kind of surprised that we're figuring it out. You know, they're kind of they're just kind of, oh, this one knows. Oh, this one's figured it out. You know, and I'm a nobody anyways. I don't have $1 billion. Don't have millions of dollars. I'm not, in the public spotlight. I didn't already make a deal with the other nations. So it doesn't matter. But when someone like Kanye says something, a lot of it is just, I feel like I seen, how many times have we all seen this? A lot of times it just seems like so that they can have the floor. They want the floor. They want to be able to, explain everything on their terms. Which, hey, this is your kingdom. Go right ahead. You can have the floor. You can explain everything the way you want, because it's best that you have the floor right now. It's best that you get to say whatever it is that you want, okay? Because this is your heaven. I said, we learned about banging our heads, against a brick wall. We don't need you to agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need the other nations to agree with us anymore. We don't need them to say, "Oh, you know what? You're right." You know what I'm saying? Like, do we really need that? Nah. Who is the one that proves that we're right? The Father, the Most High. So, like I said, the days of us having to go to them and try to get them to agree. Like I said, for us, that's not even necessary. You see what I'm saying? But see, they still try to use other people so that they're always going to have the floor until the Most High takes away their blessing totally. I prefer them to have the floor. Go right ahead, say what you want to say, make your pretty much make your case. Make your case right now. I said because really pretty soon you're going to be speaking to our Father. You see what I'm saying? So you don't got to make a case to me. I don't got to make a case to you. Truth stands alone. You see what I'm saying? So I because all that arguing back and forth gets nothing accomplished. You see what I'm saying? It gets nothing accomplished. And you know what was kind of crazy was in that book, The Coming Race, the one we did the video on. It showed you about Joel 2, showed you about the Americas being like the choicest land, and about it being the fourth part because it was a quarter, the best quarter of the earth and everything else. Well, see, in their subterranean society, they did not allow people to have discussions about the Most High because they were like, the Most High is unknowable. And since we can't know him, it's not even worth having an argument. The bickering and the arguing, doesn't, it never gets solved. It never solves anything. So it was like pretty much it was outlawed for them to even have those kinds of conversations. So it took a lot of the arguing and the bickering, off the table. So like saying like who is the Most High's chosen people? Who are the real people? You know what? We're gonna find out. And in that subterranean, with the real guy, they didn't even. I said they didn't even allow those types of conversations. And like, and if you look at today, what would it matter if you had a conversation with someone and you brought out all these facts? They're still going to say, oh, well, yeah, I know you brought out all these scriptures. I know you brought all this information, but I still don't believe it. How many times have we seen that? And then we tell them, you prove a matter. Study to show thyself approved. They never do. So then, so it's okay. Like I said, you got to be confident in what the Most High has given you. I don't need the other nations to approve what we're learning because it's not for them anyway. So there's no way they can prove it. You have to have faith that the Most High is giving you knowledge and understanding, and that He's the one that's opening up your eyes, and that you belong to Him. And if the other nations, when it's time for them to get it, trust me, they'll get it. But we already know, because how many scriptures do we already know that talk about how they're going to be surprised at the end? Many. And see, when we talk about the guy with the little mustache, we're talking about how when this information comes out, that it's going to be the start of World War III. It's going to be the cause of World War III. Look at the timing. The Most High in the last couple of weeks started opening up the understanding about the subterranean world, right? The subterranean world. All right. That's been in the last couple of weeks where he's really started to, give us that pretty heavy. And it's not just us, like, well, we're getting it, but all of a sudden you start seeing other people, trying to latch on and talk about it as well. All of a sudden now they're talking about Antarctica. All of a sudden they're talking about UFOs coming out and everything else. They're talking about that all of a sudden, right? And so we got that. We got the Lions Gate, which I guess is I think it's a couple of weeks from I think what Sister Pat was talking about, an opening for a couple of weeks. I know that Brother Abdullah Seer was the one that came up with this information, and great job that he brought this information out. So it's like we got a couple of weeks. Lion Gate just opens up. Most High gives us information about the subterranean levels. It just shows you how deep this is. Just think, a couple years ago, we thought we knew so much. A couple years ago, we thought, we have a good grasp on this information. And then the Father gives us more information, gives us more understanding. And it just shows you that, you have to have your eyes open, and you have to be willing to go wherever the Most High, wants to take you. And it just shows you how deep this is. And I'm going to show you some things actually in this Hollow Earth book because, like I said, it's there's so much. But old boy with the little mustache was talking about when this information comes out, it's going to be the start of World War III. What do we hear now? I was listening to a little bit of Paul from Off Grid Desert Prepper. He did a couple videos, and usually he doesn't do videos for every couple days, but this stuff is coming so fast that he's like I got to bring this information to you. He's like I don't like bringing bad news, but it's really picking up, and I want to make sure that you're aware of the things that are going on. And he was talking about how pretty much Russia admitted that the Ukraine's pretty much ready to, and they're all set up to let out a dirty bomb in the Chernobyl area. Okay, and I guess they were calling all these other countries and let them know, like, hey, look, when this happens, we're already telling you what's going to happen. We're already telling you what they're planning on doing. And if they let that go, it's going to be like a first. We're going to look at it as a first strike against Russia, and we're going to go after these other countries. We're gonna retaliate against these other countries. You know, and Paul's always like, well, we don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. You guys really think you guys got years? Yep, Chernobyl's already full of radiation, exactly. But they're talking about, I guess they have some Iskander missiles that they kind of, make it so they can try to make it seem like it's Russia that's doing it and whatever else, and it's like, you can see every day the Most High is ratcheting it up more and more and more. I said you can see every day they're ratcheting it up more and more every day. Yesterday was like, hey, we got information that this might happen. The next day it's like, okay, well, we're just going to drop it off. They're going to drop it here and Chernobyl so they can have their excuse for NATO and the Americans to bring in their troops, right? And it's like, people are like, well, that's not true. But it's like, well, why would the United States already have some of their best troops, the 101st Airborne, already in Romania doing drills to get in? It's like, are they just going to have all these troops over there, practicing and getting ready, and they're just going to say, you know what, time out. You know what? Let's just say, nah, we'll just go back home. See, that's not going to happen. And go home to what, really? Think of it like this. I mean, look at your society. What are you going to go home to? You're going to go home now to a society that the Most High is now enlightened. Not all people are enlightened, of course, but the ones that you've been keeping at the bottom, the ones that you've, exploited to build up your society. Those are the ones that you've been keeping down at the bottom so that you can enjoy your your blessing. But now your blessing is done because the Most High chosen people have now been enlightened. They know now who they are. They're learning now about where they come from. They're learning now about the technological advances that they once had. They're learning how you stole a lot of this information for yourself. So really, what is there for you guys to come home to? The Most High is now bringing judgment through storms. These angels have been released, and they're bringing death and destruction. Your economy now, all of these different countries that used to be your friends are now turning against you. The dollar that, the petrodollar is definitely falling apart because that Saudi Arabia is now talking about wanting to join with BRICS. And that's what's allowed you to be able to live so deliciously, right? So it just shows you where we're at right now. There's nothing for them to come home to. They see now, hey, they read this book. They read the book, of the coming race. They know that this coming race, these people, these entities are going to come over. The Most High is going to take over his lands. His lands were promised to his people. The best lands were promised to his people. So therefore, there's no returning to the best lands anymore. That's not even an option for you. So that's not really even an option. And now the Most High is going to give us some more understanding. And like I said, it's just out of this Hollow Earth book. I wanted to share a little bit, you know. I want to share a little bit. Just give me a quick second here. Okay. Let me see here. I was going to do a video on this, but I wanted to at least share some of it before before I even do some of the videos off of this one. Because it talks about this other some of these other planets are actually hollow as well. And if they've had this information, and they've known this information, but they've kept it all hush hush. I think that's one of the biggest secrets that they have had for such a long time, is that you know, they know what's inside these planets. Something I wanted to share. Check this out before I even get into this. You guys remember Aquaman, right? You guys remember Aquaman? And they went to when they were trying to go and when they ended up finding the mother, they went to a place called the Trench, right? So they went into the trench, and this trench, they kind of went down. You know, they had the red light kind of showing you how they went down. When they got into the trench, then they ended up going to a portal, right? And in this portal is what actually shot them into the other dimension, or pretty much shot them into the middle of the earth, right? So let me show you guys this. Kind of looks a little bit like this. So at the top, you just imagine like the boat is up there at the top, right? The boat is up there at the top from Aquaman. And then they kind of, they swim down to get into the trench, and then they go into the portal, and the portal shoots them into the inner earth. That would be the opening right there at the top of the earth, and right there at the southern end of the earth. It's a couple of their pictures that they have here in this book, okay? So it kind of looked a lot like what you would see in the movie. So it's kind of like they know this information, and they made them put them in a movie. So you kind of like see, this opening. If you just Google the trench from Aquaman, you'll see them jumping off the boat, swimming down into the water, and in the water, and they find the trench, and they go through the trench, and it opens to a portal, and then the portal just sends them into the inner earth. I said, so they got information like that. Here's another one. Ship sailing to the inside. But you see a ship right here, right there. I'm gonna have to show you guys pictures like when I do a video, but same kind of a thing here. So you can see them right there on a boat, and they get off, go into a trench, which then kind of opens up into a portal for them. Okay. Now, I'm trying to find my spot here. Let's see. Icebergs. Here we go. Okay, I learned something this week I didn't heard of before. Check this part out. Thinking about icebergs, family. Well, I kind of gave you guys a little hint now. I says, where is most of the fresh water stored? Where is most of the fresh water stored for us here on the planet? Anyone know? Where is most of the fresh water stored here on Earth? Yep. Icebergs, exactly. Icebergs. Mm-hmm. Frozen ice, icebergs. Exactly. It's not in the ground. I thought it was in the lakes. I thought it was gonna be. Oh, at first, but then it's actually natural aquifers. Nope. It's actually said in icebergs, frozen ice. Okay. I didn't realize that the icebergs were actually freshwater. I thought oh they're definitely going to be saltwater because that's where that's where they must be frozen at because it's mostly all saltwater, right? But all that ice from the icebergs and everything else is actually all freshwater. Yeah, it's like I said, about 70% of the freshwater is actually in icebergs. Exactly. Now I'm going to read something to you guys. It says, where and how are icebergs formed? Think of this right here, family. Where and how are icebergs formed? I'm reading this out of the Hollow Earth. It goes, since icebergs are formed from fresh water, not salty ocean water, they could not be formed from the Arctic Ocean, but by some fresh body of water. However, there is no fresh body of water in the polar region. So, if there's all this these freshwater icebergs, but there's no freshwater sources in the North Pole or South Pole, where are they getting all of this fresh water from? That's just crazy. Since icebergs are formed from fresh water, not salty ocean water, they could not be formed from the Arctic Ocean, but by some fresh body of water. However, there is no fresh body of water in the polar region. Reed's theory is that icebergs are formed from rivers coming from the interior of the Earth and flowing toward the surface through the polar opening. When they reach the cold exterior, they freeze, while more water passes over the frozen part and freezes too, forming mountains of ice. With the coming of summer, these big masses of ice are thawed, loose, and break off, falling into the sea and producing the mysterious tidal waves observed in the far north, Reed says. So check that out. Like if there's no water, there's no source of water in these areas, but you have these huge, mountains of ice. How is that? How is that possible? But you see, like these are the kinds of things that like there's all these things are like, I never thought of that before. I never thought about that before. You see that? And it says, it is simply out of the question for an iceberg to form in any location yet discovered. On the other hand, the interior of the Earth, back from the mouth of the rivers or canyons, being warmer, is just suited for the formation of icebergs. The mouth freezes first, and the river, continuing to flow to the ocean, overflows. Okay, overflows the mouth and freezes for months until spring. As the warm weather of summer advances, and owing to the warmth of the earth, the bergs are thawed loose, and water from the rains in the interior rushes up, and they are shoved into the ocean, and tidal waves started. All right? So it says, note the difference. On the outside of the earth, the whole length of the stream is frozen, and the farther inland, the harder the freezing. While in the interior of the earth, at the polar opening, only the mouth is frozen. In the interior of the earth, there is not only plenty of water to produce icebergs, but plenty to shove them into the ocean. So it says, for the last 300 years, a fairly steady stream of explorers have been trying to reach the pole, Arctic and Antarctic, and no one has ever seen an iceberg leaving its original location and plunging into the ocean. Isn't it strange that no one thought of asking about their place of origin? So no one's thinking about like, where's all this water coming from? Now see, there's all these different things that are kind of like popping up, and it's like, But they don't, that's why it's like, you know, it's just easier to not let anybody go to these areas. Just don't let anyone go and visit these areas. Because if you start letting them visit these areas, they're gonna start asking questions, and damn it, they're questions that we can't answer. There's a lot of questions here that we can't answer. You know what I'm saying? So instead, let's just not let them go in those areas. You see? And that's what most I was telling you. The more information you get, the more impossible it is for them to go back, okay, to normal. Again, this is simple. I mean, this is like real simple. Where's all this water coming from? What, you know what I'm saying? Yep, 80-90% of the icebergs are underwater. Yep, exactly. Just kind of like sit on and like think about that. I kind of learned about this, and I was just like, damn, I never even thought about this. You know, on top of these big giant blocks of ice. I wanted to find this other page to show you guys more stuff. So they're just not. It's just not like simple stuff that you can just. You can just kind of like ignore. We're not to the point like we can just ignore stuff anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, these things need to be answered. Here we go. Because, you know, I guess it's a huge wall of ice down, I want to say, in Antarctica, right? Have you guys seen that before? Entire shells and masses on fresh water, exactly. Check this part out, okay? About the Great Ice Barrier. Let me just show you the picture before I read it. About the Great Ice Barrier. I'm going to read it real quick, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this Great Ice Barrier before. Okay, I'm going to read it real quick. Now it says, a monster iceberg. Okay, a monster iceberg in the Antarctic Ocean, 400 miles long, 50 miles wide, grounded in 2,100 feet of water, and extending from 100 to 200 feet above the ocean. Frozen from fresh water, not attached to land. How did it get there? That's crazy. How did it get there? Now, you know, Esau. Oh, you know what? That's called blah blah blah, and I can show you how blah 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 works. You know, I can show you exactly how this works. You know, it works just like this. You know how they're always trying to give us like they got a name for it and they got a way to break it down and everything else. You know, you guys know how that is, right? I'm gonna read that part again. So a section of the Great Ice Barrier. I'm sure you guys have seen it because I've seen a picture on Google. It's like this little itty bitty boat, and it's next to this big huge wall of ice, right? So it's like a monster iceberg in the Antarctic Ocean, 400 miles long, 50 miles wide, grounded in 2,100 feet of water. Just think about that. 2,100 feet of water, and extending from 100 to 200 feet above the ocean. Frozen from fresh water, not attached to land. How did it get there? It's huge, right, Miss Ebby? Exactly. Huge. Adding some more moderators here. Thank you. So now you start to see why they say, you know what? Nah, man, but they're gonna ask too many questions. They're gonna ask too many questions. So we're not even gonna let them come in, okay? And check this stuff out. So that would be like the little drawing of it right there. The ice wall. Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you. They talk about the ice wall in Game of Thrones. Uh-huh. So I'm telling you, like they put a lot of the stuff in these shows, but we're not really picking up on the fact that the Most High is making them give. It's not that they're, well, they know. Most High is making them put it there so that when we wake up, we can refer back to a lot of this information. So like I said, just think about that right now. I mean, absolutely amazing. Something else I want to show you guys about Mars, because they talk about Mars actually having an opening as well. It's called the View of Mars, okay? Taken at the Yerkes Observatory, September 28th, 1902, showing the white circle or so-called snow cap projected beyond the planet's surface, which precludes all possibilities of it being snow or ice. It says view of Mars showing the circular white spot, which is an entrance to this planet's interior, instead of the so-called polar ice cap, thus proving that Mars, the Earth, and all other planetary bodies are hollow and contain a central sun. Photographed by FAA Talbot Bayton in England. For optical reasons, all astronomical photographs are inverted. So, if I can get this for you guys. There's like supposed to be Mars right there. Let's say from 1902. Here's some more pictures. Okay. So I'll leave this here for a second. So yeah, so what you guys think about that? I mean, that's pretty amazing. Like I said, that whole situation with the ice and the fresh water blew my mind because I was totally unaware of any of that. And just think of it, how many other things are we just not aware of? How many other things we really haven't thought about? So we haven't really thought about that. I didn't realize, like I said, that the icebergs were freshwater. I'm assuming that's why they float. You know, but now you find out all this ice is in these caps. You know, in these in the north and the south are all freshwater. Now you got to be able to explain where did all this fresh water come from? If there's nothing but salt water around, you know, and that's why you really have to be broken away from the Gentiles, because many will be like, they're gonna find some theory to try to explain some of this stuff. You already know them. You already know that. But once you kind of break away and like, you know what, you done had plenty of time to explain this stuff. And we already know that's not anything you guys are gonna do. So now that we're getting information, you know, now it's like, yeah, they're figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? They're figuring it out. So, we're really screwed. So they're really screwed. I said that's why, like I said, there's no way to go back to their normal, because the Most High is bringing out way too much information. He's connecting way too many dots. And watch, now that we even got this information, and you start thinking, like I said, and as a collective, the Most High's people are thinking, the Most High's people are praying, the Most High's people are wanting to be restored. That's going to cause more destruction on the world. Yeah, they got to blow it up. Exactly, right? They don't have a choice. They're the kind that if they can't have it, we already know they're going to try to destroy it. We already know that. If they can't have it, no one can. So now, we understand, like, remember, like I said, when the Spaniards got here and how they were just talking about how advanced everything was here, way more advanced than anything they had seen over in Europe. Now you're seeing why. I said they weren't relegated to just being on the surface. They were underground. They were dealing with, advanced technologies from, other beings. They're way more advanced, and the other nations have had to go out of their way to try to um, hide all that information, hide all that understanding. And they've done a great job, but a lot of that, like I said, was done because the Most High put us to sleep, like He said He would. And they said this is crazy because now you start getting into, waking up in the lands of our captivities. In Baruch chapter 2, verse 30. You know, I mean, you start to just see how like deep this is, and you start to see how they've really gone out of their way trying to hide this awakening, trying to slow it down, trying to put up roadblocks, to this awakening. Oh, hey, you can only read, these 80 books. You know, oh, hey, only, you know, you only read these 66 books. Hey, don't read too much, man. Don't be reading those other books. Those other books are witchcraft, and they're gonna, you're gonna end up getting into witchcraft. Hey, don't be reading that Zohar. I said that's not ours. That's Ish's book. You know, I said so. Like I said, roadblocks. Even today, it's not. So we'll just have to check to see later on. It's not closed. You just try to help out later on if you want, unless they just closed it on me. But I said it just you see all the roadblocks that have been set up. Now you start to see, even today. I'm sorry, I say, hey, I get people wanting to talk about Kanye and the stuff that he's saying and whatever else, but we are way past that. You see what I'm saying? We're way past we're the Jews. We're way past we're the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a given. We got that. I said, and if you don't want to believe it, hey, no problem. I said, the Most High will continue to give us more knowledge and more understanding, and you all can keep having that same discussion. You said you guys can have that same discussion, and when our Father gets here, see, He's already here. I said, but when He's really here and He cracks those skies open, then you can have that discussion with Him. I said, because that will all. If you concentrate on that, you won't see this other information that the Most High is giving you. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see these. I mean, look at this. What's the source of all of this fresh water in the polar regions? You know what I'm saying? What is the source? See, you won't be talking about that. You'll just be worried about, oh, well, Kanye's, he's losing money. Who cares? Oh man, Adidas dropped Kanye. Who cares? Oh man, these people are dropping him left and right. Gap is doing. Who cares? Okay. He done made plenty of money. I'm sure that dude ain't hurting for anything. You see what I'm saying? I said everybody's about to lose everything anyways at this point. You know what I'm saying? I said everybody's living on borrowed time at this point. I said, but the Father's bringing us information about the subterranean world. He's opening up. He's connecting information about the movies, about like Aquaman and the trench, and and them going into the inner earth. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, trust me, Esau has not cared about you having discussions about you being Israelites. You know what I'm saying? Like he's done allowed us to have that conversation for years. He doesn't care. He don't care. He doesn't care if you know that you're Israel. He doesn't want you to get this information. He doesn't want you to get the information that's going to cause World War III. You see what I'm saying? He's like, you can walk around here and say you're Israel all the time. We all know you're Israel. That's cool. No problem. He doesn't want you to get this deeper knowledge. He doesn't want you to be putting these puzzle pieces together. That's what he is so worried about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm listening to some of these preppers. I could listen to this one dude. He's hilarious. He's talking about, well, America has lost its way, and America's, yes, they're going to, they're going to be destroyed, but but it's like, but never anything about, you know, um, they punishment for us, punishment for what's going on, what we've done to other people. None of that. They're now admitting that America is going to be destroyed, but still they're just ignoring the whole thing about punishment and people having to pay for the dainties that they've enjoyed. You see what I'm saying? And at this point, it's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you guys want to believe it or not. I said you're going to have that conversation really soon when the Most High shows up and he starts separating the sheep from the goats. And you've been hearing this truth for a very long time, and you've gone out of your way to ignore everything. Because really, you have to ignore it. It's not like you can prove any of the stuff that we're saying wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really prove the stuff that we're saying wrong. You can ignore it. You can say you don't agree with it. But as far as like being like 100% showing that we're wrong and that we're crazy, you can't do that. I said, because these are all plenty of books that have had all this information for all this time, and they've just been sitting there waiting for us to awaken. And now that we're awakened, and now that we've been separated from needing Gentile approval, I says now things are like puzzle pieces are coming together like crazy. And not only that, even the ones that used to be with us that aren't with us anymore, they're being exposed. Ones that used to act like they were down with us and whatever else, and then and things went another other direction, went sideways, or whatever else. Now they're being exposed as being stuck, and in keeping other people stuck. Pluto's here too. Yep. And when they tell us forever, don't look at the stars, don't look at the planets, don't look at this, don't look at that, you know, just have a conversation about is the Earth flat or not? Is it flat? Is it not flat? Is it, it's like there's more going on in this Earth than just that, you know, because they give us a lot of topics to just, have arguments about, have distractions, but you can't really prove one way or the other. But yeah, like I said, that information about the fresh water, I said mind blown on that. Just because, like I said, that you better be able to show me, if you're going to sit there and say this isn't true, you better be able to show me some water source that, that's just consistently churning out, fresh water and replenishing all this fresh water on a consistent basis. And and even some of these like animals, I'm going to read that later on, not tonight, but some of these animals, when it's winter, check this out. When it's winter, they migrate, but they don't migrate south. They migrate north. Why would these animals be migrating north? If you go north, wouldn't it be getting colder? Wouldn't there be less and less sources of food, less and less sources of vegetation? But in this book, it talks about how there's a lot of animals, foxes, I want to say elk and other animals that migrate north in the winter. Like I said, so that's, like I said, that's something we'll get into another time. Eskimos. It talks about how these Eskimos came from the north. You know, so these, so it's like the animals going north, Eskimos going north, or came from the north. So there's all this other information in here. You know, so yeah, the animals actually migrating north was pretty crazy. And it's like, because these are all, they're all right up in the Arctic, and it's time for them to try to get somewhere where they can get right out the summer. I'm sorry, the winter. And these guys, they're not going south, they're going north. So they must know something. That's it. They must know something that we don't know. So like I said, I just wanted to share a little something with you. I want to share a little something with the family, something that can, make you think. And like I said, and we just know that these puzzle pieces are going to come together. And every time they come together, anticipate big moves. Anticipate huge moves. I want to play our song again as we get ready to exit out, give you that opportunity to kind of talk with one another, kind of thank the Most High for what He's done, and the things He's been showing us. The things He's been showing us. You can come through. Okay. Okay, I'm going to play real quick. Yada Yada 7. Thanking the Most High for this information, thanking for this time together, being able to get ready to watch Him work even more against our enemies, thanking Him.
My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold,
Thanking the Most High for giving us back our knowledge and understanding, opening our eyes, showing us that there's so much more. So much more.
he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Okay, Curly Lock, thank you. Thank you, and Most High bless the family.
Yahweh, Yashamoria, Nakal, Rai, Yashamar, Napashya, Yahweh, Yashamar, Hawalakya, Wa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'aid, Hawalam, Aman. Pasha, Ayanyamya, Al, Pahariam, Maaya, Yabawa'a, Izaria, Yabawa'a, Mayahawa, Sha'aisha, Shemayim, Warataza, La'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamoria, Hana, Yala'a, Nawam, Wala'a, Yashan, Shashawamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shemaria, Yahweh, Tazalia, Isle, Yum Ya, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Ayawam, Mala'a, Malabina, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashemaria, Makal, Rai, Yashemar, Nepasha, Yahweh, Yashemar, Hawalakya, Wabawa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Awalam, Aman.
Thank you again, family, for showing up. Thank you for spending time together. And like I said, just think about that water. Think about that fresh water. Think about what's the source. Think of how smooth and cold-blooded the Most High is. Allow them to just lie about everything. And now he's just exposing them every single day. All praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.